I see a lot of golfers mess up their golf swing right away, whether it be in the setup or in the takeaway. And in the takeaway, one of the biggest problems I see is players are using their hands and arms too much and not their wrists and pivot enough, right? So as they start the club away, they start bending the right arm quite a bit as the club is going back and then rotating the right forearm. So you see a takeaway that looks something like this, where the club is wrapping to the inside, the club face is getting very, very open, and there's very little rotation of the hips or rib cage to start the golf swing. What we want to see is this initial angle that we create in the setup with our wrists. We would want to see that kind of sustain in the first part of the golf swing, really just by creating a little bit of rotation in our torso. The feeling of like the torso and the hips going back together would be a way to get this club in a really good position here. If I had a preference, I would say I prefer to see the club maybe more out than more to the inside, because as that face starts to get open early on in the backswing with the bending and rotating of the right arm, that ends up being this kind of steepening over the top move that we see a lot. So understanding how to get the club staying out in front of our hands here, so the shaft's a little bit more vertical, and then we can kind of get this lowering or shallowing move in transition. So the keys to that are going to be feeling like I'm using my torso and hips a lot as I start the club away, versus taking the left arm, pulling it across the chest, right? That's not good. Or taking the right arm and kind of rolling and bending it to the inside. This is probably the most common one that I see, where right away we just kind of flare that thing to the inside, or just the inevitable kind of straight up lift. So if we create turn, that's going to move the hand slightly to the inside, and then I just have to feel like I'm hinging the club ever so slightly. And all we're really doing to create the hinge is putting a little bit of pressure on the butt of the club with our left hand. That's the feel as we start the club away, where I'm just going to put some pressure on the butt of the club. You can see as I do that, I can elevate that club. I'm going to push down, keeps my hands very, very low, elevates the club. Now, this is exaggerated, but that's the feel that a lot of players are going to need, especially if you're the guy who rolls this thing too far to the inside. So as we're taking it away, we're feeling rotation with our hips, and we're putting some pressure on the butt of the club. Now we've got that club in a really good position to start the golf swing, and we're just off to a better start, where I can now get the club moving on plane back here, keeping it inside the target line here and swinging more to the right. I know a lot of players will come on here and say, well, what about faders? The way I see most players hit their fade is not very functional, right? Where the club wraps to the inside, the shaft steepens in transition, and they're swiping it really hard left. It's a very weak way to play a fade. So if you are more of a fader and you want to play more of a fade, we can talk about how to move in that direction. But I think for the bulk of players watching this video, they're trying to understand how that club stays in front of their hands, so that now we can get into a really nice position here that allows the club to drop to the inside. Really, the decision on the direction of the shot is going to be made more from here to here and how I operate the club. A drawer of the golf ball is going to turn less, swing the club more out. A fader, the golf ball, is going to create a lot of rotation and pull the hands very aggressively left. They're not going to be moving in this fashion very much if you're a good player hitting a fade. So again, as we're setting up to it, right, we're feeling like we're rotating our hips and torso as we just put some pressure on the butt of the club, and that's the ideal takeaway. The toe should just about match the spine angle there. A little more open or a little more closed would be okay, but kind of matching the angle of the spine just outside or on the hand path, and then we're getting the hips turning about 25, the shoulders turning about 50. So try that next time you're playing golf and see how that works. I should probably hit a shot. Everybody wants to see me swing, right? That's why you're here. Yank the shit out of that. Oh, no, it worked out.